For almost 2 years, we've been talking to presidential candidates, their surrogates, their supporters, and trying to gauge what's going to happen here in Iowa. Now, no more guessing, no more gauging, no more looking at polls, because we're going to get some answers very soon. Elena Schneider, you covered Pete Buttigieg for us. How is Mayor Pete doing in the polls right now in Iowa?
He's right now behind Joe Biden, Bernie Sanders, and tends to land in third place when you average the polls together. But he's right there in it with these candidates as they head to the final finish. And that's why this race is so exciting, because it's just so tight right now. Pete Buttigieg burst out onto the national stage back in the spring. He really started to gain a lot of momentum, building out his organization heading into the fall. And the key is that he started to spend money on television ads. And that really helped build his name ID, grow sort of the number of people who even knew who he was. He saw this real spike, and it was a combined, both momentum on the ground, but also simply people actually getting to know who he was. Then people started to notice that he was starting to really rise in these polls, and that makes your opponents a little jealous. They want to they want to take you down a few notches. Yeah. And so all of a sudden, about November, December, we really saw the attacks against Pete Buttigieg start to escalate in a really serious way. He was gone after on all kinds of things.
Wine cave.
In a wine cave.
The wine caves, where he was fundraising, whether or not he was going to open those fundraisers, which he ultimately did. His time at McKinsey, which is a really controversial consulting firm. So he really came under a lot of fire, and that brought his polling numbers in Iowa back down to earth a little bit.
So for Pete Buttigieg, it feels like this is kind of a make or break place for him. Like, he has to do really well because he hasn't been tested nationally.
This is where he has to prove that he can win. And look, it goes to sort of a couple different things. One, how much voters, both here in Iowa and nationally, want a winner. And all of these campaigns know that the first step of proving that you're a winner is you actually win. He's also really got to prove that somebody who is 38, has represented only a town of about 100,000 people, someone who's gay, can win. And I think that he's got a hurdle to really get over here to prove that he can excite enough people that carries him into these future contests. And he's got a big sort of gaping hole in his strategy, which is a lack of support among people of color. And so the calendar, once you get past Iowa and New Hampshire, which are both predominantly white states, you head into Nevada and you head into South Carolina. Obviously both places where predominantly Black, Latino, API communities. And so he knows that in order for him to have any shot at building any kind of momentum coming out,
he has to do it there.
He has to do it here in Iowa. Finishing in the #1 slot is the ideal.
That'd be great.
Finishing in the #2 slot, I think they would also accept. And the chief thing for them is, where does Biden fit into that picture? Joe Biden is the one who sort of overlaps with him the most. And if he can beat somebody like Joe Biden here in a place in Iowa and sort of take that sort of moderate, center of the road mantle away from the former vice president, that would be a huge deal. So even if he did that in third place, maybe it would be enough of a narrative setter that he could go into New Hampshire with some momentum.